Hello, and welcome back to Your Life Your Way, where we talk about feeling safe, being you, guilt-free, living life on your terms, breaking cycles of generational and societal conditioning that are affecting your health, your relationships, your work, and most importantly, if you have them, your children. So let's get into part 2 of the 4 bad seeds. The next 2 that I'm going to combine, putting together, is kind of like a volcano. They are so huge in how we move through our life. They are probably 2 of the biggest patterns that hold us back from living life our way, from living your life your way. It is, believe me, if you are falling into this category, you are not alone. And it took me a whole lot of work to break these 2. Is it 100%? We could talk about the triggers, but these are probably the 2 most freeing. If you can work on breaking these, you will free yourself. You will be unchained. You will be so empowered. Which ones are they? You might be able to guess. If we've talked about people pleasing, you might be able to kind of guess what 2 of the other ones might be. They are, drum roll, worrying what other people think, worrying what others think. I call it WWOT. And taking things personally. Yep. These 2 are really put us in the trigger zone. So I ask that you please just sit back, possibly paradigm shifts. And remember, I know you get sick of hearing it, but it's so important that we wrap our brains around the fact that life is right from birth. The conditioning starts. And we have no blame to place on our parents because they did the best they could with what they knew from their conditioning and their life experience. Yes, again, I say you might get sick of hearing it, but it's understand the process so that you can make it easier to say, yes, I'm going to make some changes. And yes, it's hard, and it's hard for for a couple different reasons. One, because it's been so ingrained, it's what we've learned, it's what we've known. It feels like it's the right way to be. It seems normal. And also it goes a bit deeper than that. And understanding also why it's hard. And if you find some peace and ease around that, if you can and create it and hold on to the fact that it is possible, it becomes not just learned behavior on the surface, but it goes deeper in the fact that it's all part of it's our thoughts, and our brain and our body is not separate. It's all together, and you can't heal one without healing the other. And when we've had these thoughts that we've learned through our life and they've grown from our experiences, and sadly, so many of our thoughts come from, we seem to remember our bad experiences sometimes more than the good. But the thoughts become such a part of us, and it affects how we are physically. And that's what can make it a little bit harder to work through and to continue on the path of healing, to break the cycles. That's, breaking those cycles, creating a new, as I say, create a new powerful legacy for yourself and your children. You can break these cycles. If your mother didn't, she's turned it over to your hands, or maybe your mother has broken some and she's handed it off to you to continue the work. I've seen that in my own family with my mother and I. I've seen her break cycles. So proud of her. But there's some that she's handed off to me. And yes, from my father as well. And just working on those cycles is so important for our own peace, for our own enjoyment of life. It's so important to live life on our terms. And it's how we get to that point is by recognizing where all this stuff comes from. Worrying what other people think. If you've listened to my other episode, past episodes, I'm sure you might have heard me say that my dad used to say, well, what would the neighbors think? Well, my response was, well, let's give them something to talk about. And then there's always, well, where they're talking about us, they're giving someone else a break. But we don't need to be worrying what other people think. And we're going to get deeper into that. Taking things personally ties in with that, because if we're worrying about what other people think, then it's automatic. You're taking things personally. And I had someone recently be open and honest and say that they really worried what other people thought. And that hurts my heart for them. It really hurts my heart, because it's so limiting, and it keeps you in a box. It keeps you almost imprisoned. I mean, think about it. Going around all the time worrying what other people will think. You're living your life. You're not living your life fully because you're worried what other people will think. Those, in generally, it's society. I mean, yes, you have, family members are going to say stuff, and that's another part of the conversation. But in general, we're worried about just everybody, what anybody might think. We are not so special to all those people out there as we might think that we should have to worry what they think. You are special to you. Remember that first and foremost, to be special for yourself, to yourself. You are magical. You are unique. You are powerful. You are strong. You are compassion and grace. You are love. But to everybody out there in society, all those people you're worried about what they think, they're worried about what people think, whether they want to admit it or not. They're worried about what people think, and all the people they're worried about what people think. It is a friggin' vicious cycle, an endless roller coaster ride. It's time to get off. It's time to get off that ride. Everyone is living from their own life experiences, conditioning, life patterns, learned behaviors. So they're operating from that as you're operating from yours, as I've operated from mine. So worrying what they think has nothing to do with you. It may sound, by the things they say, or even just watching the media and how things are presented, and how we learn to think that that's how we're supposed to look or be or act. It's unhealthy. And the sooner you can start understanding that what those people are saying and thinking has nothing to do with you, start freeing yourself from that prison. I can count on one hand how many people I really, really, really care what they think. They are the people closest to me. They are the people that they're just my loves. There doesn't mean I'm going to agree with everything they say, or I'm going to take all the advice that might be given, but I am going to listen. I'm going to take heed, and I'm going to ponder, and I'm going to consider. But ultimately, this is my life, to live my way. Doesn't mean I'm being a bitch. Doesn't mean I'm being rude. It doesn't mean I'm just tossing everybody else away. I'm honoring the gift that I was given of my life. And I'm grateful for that gift every day. Worrying what other people think is a waste of time. Now, if someone says something to me out, and it happens, and I love to take those things in now and ask myself, because of what I've been through this process, and it's always going to be, please understand, it is always, life is a work in progress. And that is a beautiful thing, because that means we have the opportunity to never stop growing, to never stop experiencing, to be curious and explore and expand and add to our legacy. It's fun to hear people say things and to think, what are they carrying? What's going on with them? Because I've done the same thing with myself. And that comes back to, I mentioned triggers earlier. There are times when I can feel, you can feel it coming. You know that feeling when you just feel that rush coming of you're going to react. Most of the time I can catch myself. There's times when I call it a review process, and I take that step back, and within that, I will pause and say, oh boy. And if I need to apologize to someone, I absolutely do, because again, what I'm going through and what I'm coming out with has nothing to do with them. It's mine. And I will say to myself, apparently there's something I still need to work on, or I do need to do some more work on, or what's going on. But it's fun because I'm forever the student, the teacher, the student. It rolls, and it's a beautiful thing. Some days you'd like to have the lesson. Sometimes I'll say, just give me 5 minutes. Let's not have any of the lessons today. But anyways, it's beautiful that it's an ongoing process, because once you get through and you start the ball rolling, you get practicing, it does become easier. Because examining what brought you to this point is where the freedom starts. Worrying what other people think. If you are hiding yourself, if you are missing out on the world, if you are doing, acting, or not acting, or in any way that is to keep yourself small, no. You have given, if you're doing that, you're giving all those people, you're giving everyone else your power. Take it back. It's not theirs to have. You're giving even strangers control over how you live your life. And I'll be blunt. They probably aren't even handling their own life. Maybe some aren't, but bet you some of them aren't. So let's add in the second portion of this, which is taking things personally. This is another really big freeing one. This was a bit harder for me. The day that I learned, and it was a big light bulb moment. And I went, I was reading, it's one of Wayne Dyer's books. No, I take that back. It wasn't Wayne. Well, I've read a lot of his. He's wonderful. He's one of my favorites. But it was The 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. I don't know how many times I wanted to take that book and just throw it out. But this is just not me. But when I got to the part, one of the 4 agreements is exactly not taking things personally. And I was getting pretty frustrated with that, and a little quite defensive, actually, because I knew, and when you get defensive, when we all get defensive, when we react in that way, it's because it's, there's some truth going on, or there's needing to self-protect. But finally it sank in, and I had to say to myself, dang, not everything is about me. That was a little humbling, a little disheartening, but no, not everything, turns out, is about me. Oh, well, if that's the worst that happens. But that right there is probably, if I had to pick one one ultimate lesson, awakening, that was the biggest door opener for me to continue to really do the self-examination, the self-discovery, to do the work. That was huge. That was it. Realizing that I did not have to take things personally, because not everything was about me. And this is where it comes back into words and what other people say and do, and how deeply we internalize that, and how we don't really have to. You can free yourself from that. I have carried stuff. I can remember a third grade teacher. I thought about her. She would just pop into my mind through the years, and how she was just, I don't know what was going on in her life, but she was not the nicest lady. She really shouldn't have been teaching. But maybe she was great at one point in time, but she had reached a point where it was time to retire. And I remember this woman, and she was just not the nicest lady, and she was teaching elementary school. But I thought about her through the years, and how at the time as a little girl, I felt hurt by her. And there were other instances through my life of school where I know I felt hurt. And I can just think of things outside of school. I mean, I can come up with, we all can, I can come up with instances through my life where I felt hurt by others. Well, okay, here comes some trigger things, so hang on. Anytime someone said something to me, behaved in a way that seemed hurtful, were mean words, was bullied in 7th grade. It had nothing to do with me. Nothing to do with me. If somebody says something to me right now out and about somewhere mean, or in a whatever, it has nothing to do with me. So I have a choice. I can get all quiet, I can get all defensive, or I can say, geez, I wonder what's going on. What pain are they carrying? Because it's exactly that. If I say something to you, to someone, or if I'm reacting harshly, with me, has nothing, you, the person, has nothing to do. It's something going on in me, with me. You know, there we see those memes that say, you know, be compassionate, be patient. You know, you don't know what someone is going through. Yes, there are things we go through, and it just throws our whole existence. That's another topic. But just on a day-to-day basis, you know, if you don't sleep well, hangry, you know, you're tired, you're hungry. Yeah, get a little grumpy. But that's my issue, and it's where it's coming from. If something is triggering me and I react, that's within me. So if someone says something mean to me, it has nothing to do with me. Why do I want to take it? Why, I have enough of my own stuff. Why do I want to take someone else's stuff and carry it? Every time someone has said something, I carried all that stuff for years, carried all that stuff for years. You're carrying stuff. Tell me you're not. You're probably still carrying stuff back from high school, elementary school, college, workplace. You remember that person. Why do we insist? Why are you insisting on carrying it? How is it working? How is it feeling? And I say this because, believe me, I have enough experience in it myself. Oh my God, they hurt my feelings. No, I chose to feel hurt. I chose to take that on as it was about me, and how dare they? Life's too short. We're all going through crap. But we also have a lot of good stuff. A lot to be grateful for. And that's part of the challenge of why it's so hard. And I never said it was easy. I will say it's hard to change, because it's so ingrained in us. The conditioning runs deep, but that doesn't mean you can't change it. it's a fun, when you get to the point where you think, it can be a fun process to just, you're shedding layers. That's how I picture it. It's like an onion. And every time we have an experience or somebody says something or, there are traumatic things that happen in our life. And I'm not disrespecting that. I've had my own. But every layer that we put on covers who we really are, who you really are. And you just get so lost in there. I've been there. We get so lost. And we're more concerned with worrying about what people think and taking everything to be about us. And oh my God, they said this, they did that. Start shedding those layers. Start asking yourself, where did it come from? Why do I feel I have to carry that still? Why do you have to carry something that somebody said 20 years ago? I don't care if it was a close family member, someone that you adored. It's still theirs, not yours. When I'm working with a client, we do work on that, talking to that little girl, because that little girl is still in there. And there was probably many times she didn't feel safe in the world. And there's times, even today, we don't feel safe in the world. And that's also a lot of the challenge that I work on with clients, is that feeling safe. And it's not just feeling safe out walking around town. It's feeling safe being who you are. We want to feel safe in being who we truly are and owning it and honoring it. Getting a handle on that conditioning and doing the work is extremely freeing. As you're shedding those layers, and that's what happens when you're shedding those layers and you're getting rid of it and you're letting off that weight. There's a saying that says the weight you probably most need to lose is not on your body. It's because you're carrying this stuff that belonged to other people. And this is why I talk about legacy. I don't talk about legacy in terms of stuff, money, houses, jewelry, stuff. That to me, that's not legacy. Legacy is how you live and how you touch this world and what you leave behind. And that was huge when I was really coming to my own aha and shedding the layers, was realizing that because you have to look back. People say, oh, don't look back. You're not going the way. You have to look back. And it's okay, because you're not deep diving into stuff. You're just kind of getting a feel for, okay, this is what happened. This was theirs. And you begin to see, okay, that became from my mother, my father, because her mother, her father, and their mother, their father. And you can see how that pattern happens. And you think, oh, okay, so I've been carrying this stuff. Well, I had children. So I didn't want to pass. I saw the cycles that my mother broke for me. And as I said, she's passed the torch. She's still here, but she's passed the torch. And I want to have a different legacy for my children and grandchildren. So it isn't just about me, and it's not just about you. And you say, well, I don't have kids. That's okay. You are still a mother of this world. You are still a mother of this world. You are still fire and love and magic and grace and power. And how you touch this world is your gift. And if you're buried under all the layers of other people's stuff, it's not freeing you to live fully and express your gifts. And what is your passion? What is your purpose here? People use purpose but it's true. You have a purpose for why you're here. You have a reason. And if you're in all that stuff all the time, if you're worrying what other people think, and if you're taking things personally, Lordy, it's just exhausting. And it keeps you in a prison. Hearing someone say to me, and I think the reason it hurts my heart so much is because I know I've been there. Now I can remember all my life feeling different in certain situations and feeling that didn't fit in, and I didn't care about certain things that other, and didn't understand it. Now that I look back, I can see, I can understand that I've seen my journey. I can see and look back now, and I can see my journey. And I was learning even as a little girl, but it took getting to a certain level of experiences that weren't joyous. It always seems to be the way it is, we always have to wait until we get hit by that friggin' 2x4 before we just start saying, okay, maybe I'll start paying attention. Maybe I want to make some changes. But it all brought me to asking myself, what exactly has my role been in my life? And that was after taking things personally. That was the next biggest aha, was what is my role? What has my role been in all my experiences? And ask yourself, what has your role been? We're so quick to want to throw blame here, blame there, blame to other people, blame to parents, blame to spouses, friends, coworkers, just the world. And really, it's all our responsibility. It was all my responsibility, my choices to how I rolled. But taking things personally is a waste of time, because it isn't you. I'm sorry, but it isn't. Because if it's not all about me, then it's not all about you. It's not. And worrying what other people think. You've also heard, well, when they start paying your bills, they can tell you how to live. Well, okay, that's you can look at it that way, because yeah, that's true. When they start paying your bills, maybe they get a little bit more say. But this is your life. This is your gift. And in another episode, I will share how that, what I use, what was, it was the tools I was using for my clients. And I said, clients, then it's got to work for me too. And just how that journey has been. And sharing it is about helping you find the tools for you. Because as I've said, life is not a one size fits all. And how you, when you hear someone else share a tool that they used, it might be for you and it might not, but hopefully it sparks you to think of, okay, let me explore a little bit. How can I make that mine to help me on this journey, to walk this path? How can, what serves you? So we'll save that for another episode. I hope that you're choosing to take this in and just look inside and ask yourself, how often do I move through my day, move through my life based on what I think others will think? And what and when and from whom am I taking things personally? And then be aware, notice when it happens, when it actually happens, and notice how it makes you feel. Does your chest get a little tight? Your breath gets shorter, body gets tight, headaches. Just kind of begin to notice how your body reacts. Because remember, what's going on up here is instantly happening in the body. Stress comes from here, from the thoughts that we create, from our conditioning, from our life experiences. It can all be unraveled. Just even if you can get to a point where you're thinking maybe, it's a start. Thank you so much for being here and listening in. And please, by all means, if you think this can be of service and help and support to someone else, please feel free to share. My whole intention with this podcast and the work that I do, the mentoring, teaching clients, coaching, is to help every woman find her way to get out from under the stress of the patterns and the conditioning, and reduce the stress, break the cycles, build a powerful legacy for yourself. And if you have children, for them as well. So please feel free to share. And if you find it in your heart to give me a review and maybe some stars, I would greatly appreciate it, because it all helps us grow the community and touch at least one more person and help her on her way. I wish you all blessings, joy, peace, and a heck of a good time out there. Enjoy. Thank you.